I walk the hills when rain is falling. I sit by a white oak tree. The larks sing high at evening, and the moon on the sea. Softly blow ye winds of morning, sing ye winds to the mournful sound. Blow ye from the earth's four corners, guide this traveler where he's bound. I felt the plowman and his horses, heard a rippling river sing, talk to stars when night's falling, seen a primrose welcome spring. Softly blow ye winds of morning, sing ye winds your mournful sound. Blow ye from the earth's four corners, guide this traveler where he's bound. My flowing shores, my feet have wandered, heard a stranger call me friend. Anytime a man was troubled, found a smile around the bend. Softly blow ye winds of morning, sing ye winds your mournful sound. Blow ye from the earth's four corners, guide this traveler where he's bound. There's a ship, she stands in harbor, all prepared to cross the foam. All of hills are fair and friendly, still there's fairer hills at home. Softly blow ye winds of morning, sing ye winds your mournful sound. Blow ye from the earth's four corners, guide this traveler where he's bound. Softly blow ye winds of morning, sing ye winds your mournful sound. Blow ye from the earth's four corners, guide this traveler where he's bound. Guide this traveler where he's bound.
Thank you both very much. That was a beautiful start. Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the 2021 Convocation of the Waring School. It is truly wonderful to be here with all of you in person today. We have some catching up to do after our smaller virtual ceremony last year and lots of introductions to make, so we shall begin. Convocation has not always been a landmark day in the annual cycle of the school, and since its inception, it has always seemed to me, at least, a bit strange that well after we have had many, many firsts and beginnings, orientation, pre-season, camping trip, first day of class, first week of class, we are finally coming together for the formal opening of the school year. I hope that after today, however, you will all agree that being present in the same space together to welcome new members of the community and to affirm shared values in act and in word, like them, is an important statement of some of those values in itself and an event that is well worth the wait. A testament to the significance of this event in the life of the school is the number of people I see here today who have been in different roles over the years. In addition to the students and families joining us for the first time, scattered amongst us we have alumni, alumni parents, and board members, past and present. Many of us wear several of these hats, and because we have so many new members to the community under the tent with us today, I decided that we should probably take the time for a quick round of stand or wave to be acknowledged. Could I please ask all alumni to stand or wave as you are able to be acknowledged? Could I please ask all alumni parents to stand or wave as you are able to be acknowledged? And could I please ask all current or past board members to stand or wave as you are able to be acknowledged? Thank you to all of you for your ongoing relationship with and service to this community and school. I would like to introduce our parent group chairs, Lauren Morano and Callie Towne. I'm not 100% sure that they're under the tent right now or with us here. Lauren and Callie? Oh, good. Could you stand up and just give a quick wave? Is Lauren here? Oh, there she is. Okay, Lauren's coming in at the back of the tent. They are both, there she is. They are both well known to most of you by now, I think, and if not yet, then they soon will be. The parent group plays a valuable role in the school, serving it in many ways, from organizing speakers for the community, creating beautiful settings for nearly every large event throughout the year, to making sure we always have delicious food after events such as this. And speaking of lunch, a final recognition and thank you to the Group 4 reps, Nina Gadmer and Ilana Peled, and their parent co-volunteers who decorated the tent and prepared lunch for us this afternoon. Thank you. I'm not sure, maybe they're still up there making the sandwiches. Finally, in the way of introductions, I must bring your attention to my colleagues seated to my left this morning, maybe not so much in the front row, but still, sort of. The faculty members at Waring bring the depth of their impressive academic life and experience, as well as their affection and respect for their students, to every class they conduct, every game they coach, and every lunch they share. They are creative and inspired as teachers, expending vast amounts of energy in everything they do at school. They amazed me, truly, with their own capacity for growth and learning and adaptation last year when they taught themselves and each other how to teach, tutor, and counsel on Zoom, how to manage new and different platforms with names like Padlet and Jamboard, how to collect and correct homework online, and how to inspire and share art and music and conversation in the virtual world we inhabited last year. That your work is at the foundation of the community we create was evident during that period of physical isolation, and we all owe you a debt of gratitude for the brilliance, care, and dedication you demonstrated during that time. It is also my pleasure to introduce several additions to my group of colleagues who have not had the opportunity to be publicly acknowledged since joining the faculty and staff in September of 2020. I have you listed in little clumps and in chronological order, so if you could stand as I name you, that would be perfect. Terry Kidd, Isabel Skillen, wearing class of 2014, and Marianne Durand, who cannot be here today, all joined us in September of 2020. And Marianne and Terry, both new to the school, bravely spent their first seven months, and Terry his whole year, actually, meeting and working with students, not to mention colleagues, exclusively online. Sarah Golden joined us at the start of last year as our substitute nurse and subsequently health teacher, and Kristen Bach joined us as our learning support specialist in October of 2020. Each is also a parent to 2 children at the school. Welcome. Not sure they're here with us under the tent, but late in 2020, Paul Marquis and Nick Cook joined us as Director of Facilities and Sustainability and Caretaker, respectively, and have had their hands full with many shifts in our protocols and buildings and classrooms ever since. Joining the administrative team since last March, Bradford Akerman came in as Director of Technology and Innovation, just in time to help us get settled in the new building. And Will Potter and Barbara Lucier joined us this past summer as Director of Finance and Administrative Assistant. Welcome. As this academic year started, we welcomed 3 new teachers to our classrooms: Rebecca Reed, Allison Fry, and Chris Brandt. Rebecca's a tutor and is teaching math and programming. Allison is a tutor and is teaching biology as well as oceans and climate, which was a late change, but one that is clearly already in her wheelhouse. And Chris is our new chair of performing arts, a role that has too many parts to it to list them all, so I'll just say that he has been very busy so far this year. And lest you think that just because it's September and we must have been all set, Dan Wellahan is not only a new parent, but also a new member of the core science teaching team, and our most recent addition, Lindsay Goldstein, wearing class of 94, will be the school's new social worker. There's obviously much more I could have said about each of these new faculty and staff members, especially those who I've already had the pleasure and honor to work with. We are grateful for you and also look forward to the inspiration, creativity, and energy that each of you brings to the community. Welcome. I know I've taken more than my fair share of time, but I cannot close without noting that a lot has happened since our last in-person convocation. At least on paper, this is a very familiar event for some of us. We know what to do. We order a tent and some chairs. We ask the seniors to write speeches and all the students to regale us with music. We introduce new members of the community and recognize old ones. And yet, not only have we forgotten just how much work it takes to pull it all off, it really isn't quite the same as it was 2, 3, or 5 years ago. We are under the tent on a late Saturday in September, but the landscape has changed. We have 51 beautiful new faces to welcome, but we are missing some old familiar ones. We are all changed somehow by the experience of the past 18 months, and this is a theme emanating from many quarters as the year gets underway. And we are hearkening to that message as the drumbeat of the year seems to pick up its pace. One of our greatest challenges as we move into this year may well be to discern those places and times that tradition still generates what we seek for our students, ourselves, and this community, and those places and times that it could yield to a new and different way of living out our values. As for this traditional meeting we are engaged in right now, I feel nothing but joy at being here with all of you, hearing our students' voices, celebrating our current and past community members, and welcoming our new students and families as we start the year together, in community. That is the tradition of Convocation after all, and I hope that you will find it to be the joyful coming together that we have all been waiting for. Thank you.
Stay. Welcome. Welcome, Wearing community. And yes, I've given up, so he can stay there. And, thank you. Thank you. There's a lot to celebrate today, but my task this morning is to welcome all the new members to this closely knitted community. We have a large number of students who will be inaugurated today, if that is the right word. So I will be swift in my welcome message. I already felt my clock is ticking. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And new student, your time in wearing has recently started too. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So I would like to invite you to join me in a very brief activities. That is about time or the clock, the analog time, not the digital time. So just to be sure that we are all on the same page in this digital age, we just want to make sure that we all understand how an analog clock works. So can we all just raise your fingers and place it at the positions 12 of a clock? And then move it to 1, move it to 2, move it to 3. Great, everybody knows that. And keep going around the clock, keep going round the clock. Make sure that you're doing it right. Well, if you have done it right, this is what we call clockwise, right? Okay. So some of us have difficulties waking up early this morning. I was reminded of that. So imagine that you're lying in bed, staring up into the ceiling. Your clock right now starts on the ceiling. Ready? Have your fingers pointing up to the ceiling and start the clock rolling. 1, 2, 3, tick tock. Keep it going, tick tock. Make sure it's clockwise, tick tock. Keep doing it. And as you're doing it, slowly lower your clock. Lower your clock. So the clock is under you right now. Now stare at the clock. Keep going, doing your clock. Stare at your clock. What happened? Did you do it wrong? Our instruction was very clear, clockwise, not counterclockwise. Well, that is a little discovery this morning that I'd like to share with everyone. Nothing really changed. I didn't transport you to a foreign country, although I speak with an accent. I didn't cast black magic over you. You're doing exactly the same thing, but your view of the clock, your perspective have changed. And that the only thing that have changed is your vantage point. You're looking at the clock from a different position, from a different background, with different experience. So to all new students, not only that we welcome you today, we cherish your opinion, your viewpoint, and your perspective. So relax, be engaged, and be open to new discovery as you engage in classroom. Be willing to share and be willing to learn all this new perspective. And your clock has started. So enjoy your journey. We look forward to learning with you. Take talk. To all new parents, you will very soon realize that you not only send your kids to wearing. Many of us realize that when we send our kids to wearing, we send ourselves to wearing too. And it is a very closely knitted, very strong and supportive community. And it takes all of us to raise our kids. And just to illustrate that, Jonathan Godin, can you stand? Jonathan Godin, I knew him. He was parents who welcomed me when I first came to wearing. And how many parents do you think you have known in your years at wearing?
He's the mayor.
That's right.
Just a number. 800. How many of parents have you shared a glass of wine with?
2,000.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, new parents, I hope I have made my point. So welcome, and we look forward to knowing you and share a lot of great conversations and wine with you too. And well, before my time run out, I was told that I only have 200 words. And I don't want to forget our new faculty and staff. And I'd like to take this opportunity to share something that I was once told by an experienced educator. He said a great teacher is a teacher of students, not just a teacher of math, science, or art. It's a teacher of students. So I'd like to encourage all of us to kind of look at it from that new way. If we place our student at the positions 12 on the clock, everything else that we do is just part of the step and journey back to 12. Our most important locus of reference. So with that words of inspiration that I've drawn from many years, welcome all new faculties and staff. Welcome everybody. Thank you.
It takes three of us to give this award. I've had the honor of working with several board chairs. We heard Yu Chung Tam in his sage words. Joanne Avalon, trustee emerita, is here with her husband, Kurt. And then this award centers on Dick Prouty, the first board chair with whom I worked, trustee emeritus. Dick Prouty, former Waring parent, two-time chair of the Board of Trustees, expert in experiential and outdoor learning, and mentor to many of us, including myself, exemplifies extraordinary service to Waring School, our community, and the values that the school has represented since 1972. I will personally be forever indebted to you, Dick, for returning to Waring as board chair in 2015, mentoring me as then new head of school, and helping to envision so much of Waring's evolution in these past several years, from our campus improvements to our efforts in diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Dick, would you please stand so that everybody can recognize you? This year marks a significant change in the award formerly known as the Dick Prouty Award. As Tim Backlund has already indicated, the award goes to a parent or guardian who has given extraordinary service to the Waring School. With Dick's enthusiastic support, Waring has chosen to rename the award the Dick and Doris Prouty Award. In her years with us, Doris exemplified all of the attributes which this award recognizes. And as Dick's life partner, she was a major influence on the development of Waring. For those of you who did not have the good fortune to know Doris as many of us did, here is a brief account. Doris was the mother of two of our finest graduates, Isla, class of 1987, and Seth, who graduated in 1991, although Isla tells me she was always referred to as Seth's sister. Isla later returned to become chair of our art department from 1999 to 2006. She inherited many of her artistic gifts from her mother, who was herself an extraordinary artist and quilter, practicing and exploring the roots of her African American cultural and family traditions. Doris also served as the host mother of 3 of our Chinese students over a 5-year period, guiding Peter Zhao, who learned a great deal from her over his 4 years in Lanesville with Dick and Doris. Doris was a loving critic of wearing, using her strong sense of humor and her keen insight into the needs of others to keep wearing on a course to expand its efforts for diversity and inclusion. In the marriage that Dick and Doris shared, it was clear to their closest friends, among whom I consider myself, that the great work that Dick accomplished, and for which we originally created this award, was equally influenced by the love, support, guidance, and insistence upon accountability that Doris brought to that work. We all miss Doris deeply, but in renaming this award, we are doing our utmost to keep her spirit alive. Thank you.
We're lucky here at Waring in our parent body. That's you and many others who have preceded you. You're supportive of your children, you trust us and our program, and you help the place function in so many ways, taking on an enormous range of tasks, from showing up at admissions open houses to chat with prospective families to running major fundraising events. That's why 17 years ago we established the Dick Prouty Award, now the Dick and Doris Prouty Award, to recognize parents who have given outstanding volunteer service to our school. In those 17 years, it's been given just 7 times, each time to a truly extraordinary parent in this community who has been nominated and voted upon by the faculty. Those 7 are Lorraine Pocknett, Sam Otis, Jeff Averick, Alison Brooks, Randy Mitchell, Vicki Lincoln, and Leslie Lyman. I'm particularly lucky, since the last 2 named, Vicki and Leslie, both had children in my tutorial. And this year I get to add a 3rd former tutee parent to that worthy group, which makes me particularly happy, as I remember very well how wonderful they all were on a day-to-day personal level, whether their child was experiencing the rush of success or perhaps going through a more challenging period in their life at Waring. Today's honoree is exuberance and energy personified. This was sometimes a cause for mild embarrassment on the part of his daughter when she was in her younger years. But as time went by, she grew to be enormously proud of all he did and of how well liked he was by both adults and students at Waring. He loved driving her to school, partly because they could talk about Waring, and partly because it gave him the opportunity to chat with other parents in the circle. She says, "Sometimes even after my first period class was over, I'd see him still parked over by the bike rack." He attended every open school, even after his daughter graduated in 2018, usually showing up with balloons. It was always a party. He remains someone you can always count on, obtaining items and sponsorship for the annual auction and organizing our first ever wine raffle, helping to bring in thousands of dollars for the school. He was helpful in the new school building project, among other campus improvements. He's always welcoming, always looking to make everyone feel included. He's good at raising money, but people, building community, and making fun are his top priority, not money. Many people probably associate him most with the great gatherings, wonderful evenings of conviviality in which he took the lead quite early on in their existence, and then spearheaded for 5 consecutive years. There was the first one I was invited to when I drove around Gloucester and Rockport for an hour trying to find his house. I'm quite directionally challenged, and that was when I was clinging stubbornly to my flip phone. And and I finally gave up and went home. I wrote a highly apologetic email, and next thing I knew, he had presented me with a GPS so that I'd be able to get to the next one, which I did, this time accompanied by 3 visiting teachers from France, whom he and Sally duly welcomed like long-lost friends. Jonathan Golding is still spreading his love for wearing all around the North Shore. His contagious energy motivates others to join in. It's a ripple effect, and it's far broader than anything than just what he's done. I'm told that various parents, some of whom may be present here today, can tell tales of being JG'd. It's a verb, being JG'd into hosting events and realizing in a bit of a daze that they've just volunteered to go completely out of their comfort zone. Which is actually quite a lovely thing, since asking students to go out of their comfort zone is such a part of what we do. His daughter Libby and her friends, of course, were also prime candidates for being JG'd, conned into preparing and passing food and drinks at the great gatherings and into helping out in myriad other ways. I heard them as they groaned. Intolerant affection. You know the way teenagers sometimes talk about adults with just the hint of an eye roll? Oh, Jonathan, they'd say, talking about this slightly crazy man with great fondness. Oh, Jonathan, would you come up here, please? Jonathan, we love your energy and your spirited promotion of wearing and its culture. Wait, don't go anywhere. Stop. I'm greatly honored to present you with the 2021 Dick and Doris Prouty Award for volunteer service to wearing. Thank you and congratulations. Your name is on here.
Oh, I love it.
This will stay here. This is for you. And we're so happy to give it to you. Thank you.
Hey, I don't know a lot of people here, but what I've learned over the years is that relationships get stronger through shared experiences, right? And so any shared experience helps do that. And I would say to the parents, particularly the new parents, I can track my own trajectory in the sense of it. And when I was a 6th grade parent, I was mainly an observer, and then the 7th grade parent became much more of a offering ideas and thoughts. And then 7th and 8th, I became more active, and then 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, I was what they call an activist engaged parent. And it's just been a treat. I mean, I often tell people that kids come to wearing, well, it's like Yu Chung said, the parents are a big part of it, because quality kids come to wearing, and quality kids have quality parents. And so you kind of come for the education, but you get to leave with the relationships. And that to me is a real blessing right there. So thank you so much. Thank you, Jasmine.
I have so many stories about Jonathan as well. I'm sure we all do, and it's so exciting. So congratulations. Good morning. Watching my 2-year-old son Mikey find joy exploring, learning, and creating through play has become mine and my wife Vanessa's favorite pastime as of late. Through my engagement as a soccer coach and administrator in the taught youth and collegiate soccer world over the past 30 years, and as the director of athletics at the Waring School since 2007, I've come to appreciate just how precious an asset joyous play is for our children's growth. As toddlers push into school-age children, joyous play, for the most part, typically morphs into organized sports. These various sports provide a vast disparity of experiences for young student athletes, where the joy of sport either continues to be at the foundation of why we play, or is stripped out of the coach's or organization's framework, where winning at all costs becomes the foundational basis for play. In a 2018 study, Project Play, under the oversight of the Aspen Institute, found that only 38% of kids ages 6 to 12 played team sports on a regular basis in this country, down from 45% in 2008. Unfortunately, the average child today spends less than 3 years playing a sport, quitting by age 11, with a major factor being lack of joy. How can you blame these children with inexperienced youth coaches sending wrong messages, teaching through transactional quotes, such as Vince Lombardi's, "Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser"? I commend our founders for their vision and foresight on arriving here at 35 Stanley Street. Philip and Jose Waring created a culture here on our campus where sports was and continues to be an extension of the classroom, where transformational teaching and coaching take place. We find joy in learning throughout our studies. We find joy through learning and playing in our athletics program. Experience tells us that finding joy in sports can produce a deeper dive into a student's creativity, offer perspective, and create insight into helping to solve complex problems. Joy helps to facilitate a caring and trusting sports culture while taking risks that can produce large rewards and help student athletes achieve personal and team goals. Waring student athletes live into these aforementioned outcomes every day. And they do it in an unconventional way, as we do with many things on this campus, thank goodness. We work to incorporate our student body in general into our sports teams, regardless of their previous experiences before coming to Waring. The physical, mental, and emotional benefit to our community is vibrant and lucid, as expressed by Josh Webb's two T's, who shared with Josh in one of our recent tutorial exercises how excited and grateful they were to be participating in their sports experiences once again. After losing Sarah Malbuff, our girls soccer goalkeeper, to graduation, 5'2" Sophia Boyd waltzed in 2019 into our preseason, approaching me with a big smile on her face and said, "Mike, I know we don't have a goalkeeper, but you should know I'm willing to play if that's what the team may need, if you and Slack feel like I could do it." Time stood still there for the next few moments, although we continued walking and talking while both she and I tried figuring out what my message might be to her, which may or may not have been, we'll talk about it. With no previous experience in goal, and our coach willing to take a chance on someone who puts themselves out there to solve problems for the team and for herself, as Sophia knew she may struggle to get time as a field player, Sophia earned the starting goalkeeper position that year. It wasn't easy. There was and continues to be a steep learning curve. There's just so much I love about this scenario, as it captures the essence of what is possible when joy is present in sport. Sophia felt comfortable taking a risk and being about as vulnerable as one could be in this type of circumstance. Sophia felt empowered to problem solve with creativity self-advocacy, a very large smile, and showed confidence and sacrifice around team and personal needs. And so, for the rest of Sophia Boyd's life, she can speak about her experience leading and captaining her team as the starting goalkeeper her sophomore and now senior year as she moves through different phases of her life. And I can already hear her conversation and picture how her new college friends' faces would, I'm not sure what they would do, when she says nonchalantly, "Oh yes, I was a starting goalkeeper for my high school varsity soccer team." Think about the perspectives she can share at those extravagant dinner parties, the conversation starters with future employers. And I'm sure someday she can even brag to her children about the big saves she made over and over for her team. And so I say to our unconventional community, show me a good loser, and I'll show you a platform that poses challenges for student athletes to learn and grow while playing the game over and over again with joy at its foundation.
I'm Mary Boyd, mother of Sophia Boyd. I love Convocation. Actually, I love many events at Waring, but Convocation really jazzes me up. The beginning of the academic year is ripe with possibility. 13 years ago, we sat in the audience for the first time, and wow, the performances, the ritual of welcoming new students, and the speeches, especially Paul Hemberger's talk about how Waring is a place where shame comes to die, left an indelible mark on Bill and me. Convocation was our first true look as new parents into the wonderful world of Waring, her culture and traditions. And it was exciting to anticipate the journey our children would travel here. Over the years, Waring has not disappointed. 13 years in, or as my husband likes to say, 21 tuition years, and our last year as current Waring parents, I would like to say, Waring, I love you. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. At Waring, everyone matters. It doesn't matter how big or small you are, your presence is important. Each person has something of value to bring to the table, and that's important because this small school needs everyone to participate, to contribute, to push beyond their tried and true comfort zones, and in so doing, discover and enrich unknown talent. People take care of other people. The tutorials and the tutors are integral to the growth and development of the student. It's a family within the larger community where one learns how to support and be supported, where one is encouraged to be a better version of themselves. Teachers will challenge and push your child academically to engage their deepest learning. They also genuinely care about their health and well-being. When asked about homework for one of our children who was unwell, the teacher's response was rest, tea with honey. Students help out other students by teaching writing and math and art, by helping you remember the forgotten lyrics to the song you're singing at a soiree, by working together on big projects, and by looking out for one another. Waring welcomes ideas and innovations. If you have a thought, an inspiration, it will be heard, it will be valued, and quite often be realized. Some ideas are simple, Like, we should have convocation in a tent instead of crowding into the theater. Some advance the curriculum and learning, like we should build a stone labyrinth during medieval studies course, or we should start a robotics team. Some are more complex, like our new school building should be a passive house. But perhaps the most challenging idea in recent times, we can continue to educate our students during the COVID pandemic, to me, truly demonstrated the Waring commitment to education, the search for solutions and answers, and most critically, the devotion and the hard work of our teachers and our staff. From the very bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Waring is a surname, a proper noun, and an adjective. Philippe and José Waring founded a community of lifelong learners. My children attend Waring. That's so Waring. I definitely like it as an adjective the best. Traditions, both academic and experiential, are the liminal events of a Waring education. There are trips and adventures to Northwoods where the seniors will have planned activities and you will canoe and talk about the all-school summer reading and sing songs with Nick Page. You'll go off campus with your tutorial, and maybe you'll go to France with your classmates unless it's a pandemic. There are projects, building bridges out of popsicle sticks, acting in the 8th grade play, measuring seasonal erosion at Singing Beach, and writing and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting papers and research projects. There are books, lots of books, sometimes multiple copies of the same book that will be read and inscribed with marginalia. The Iliad, we have 5 copies in our house. The Canterbury Tales, which you will read and recite and hear in English and in Middle English. All Quiet on the Western Front, which will be read again in the trenches in France. So many more books will affect you and impact you. There will be other big community events. Grand Friends Day, Core Night, Baccalaureate, Commencement. There are poems to be recited, concerts and plays to be performed, debates to be debated, Grand Concours exam to take, and today the post-convocation soccer games to be played and to be cheered. These traditions create and sustain the core of the Waring education, but they also create the foundation that allows for growth and expansion of the student, of the teacher, of the community as a whole. Even though the same books are read and the same language learned, each repeated experience brings new depth and dimension to the Waring tapestry. It has been said that a person never steps into the same river twice. And this is so true. You will never ride in the same Romulus or Remus. You will never hear the same Waring speech, although some of the themes are similar, and certainly never attend the same convocation. Each shared tradition anchors and enriches this community. Looking out today, I am seeing people both new and familiar, each at their own point on the Waring path, and I am simultaneously thrilled for your upcoming journeys and sad to be nearing the completion of ours. And so I ask you, are you jazzed about the possibilities of the day, the new school year, your Waring education? I am.
Hey, y'all. My first year at Waring, I wore the same pair of splatter-painted jeans 2 to 3 days a week. I wore a plaid suit to picture day. I was obsessed with how I could stand apart from everyone and be remembered as the best soccer player this school had ever seen. I don't know where those jeans went. The suit is too small, and I've stopped trying to set myself apart on the soccer field. Clearly, a lot has changed. I began to sink into what I could discover, like writing poetry, rather than what I could be remembered for. Sophomore year, I struggled with my mental health. For the life of me, I couldn't find something that simply just brought me joy. The winter was long, full of 2 short days, and stress about getting work done on time. By the beginning of March, I was on the verge of a complete breakdown. And then, in the most screwed up way, the universe had given me exactly what I needed, a break. A break from school, from friends, from society as a whole. I began to write every day, writing poems on top of poems, pouring my thoughts into a little moleskin notebook. I needed a deep clean, an in-depth evaluation of everything I had encountered that year. I traveled far and wide, exploring my mind, all from the safety of my bedroom. I cleansed myself, using something Waring was able to teach me, even through a computer screen. I kept writing over the summer, using my poems as a way to debrief my day until I could eventually actually see my mental health improving. I knew junior year was going to be a challenge, one that would test my limits more than sophomore year. So I continued writing through that fall. I even began to submit some of my poems for my writing class, fine-tuning older work, allowing me to reevaluate the past even further. It was one of the first times I really enjoyed doing homework. I was addicted to writing and rewriting poems, learning more and more about poetry and myself with each one. My poetry got better and better as the year went on, each line gaining more purpose and meaning than the last. One night last May, I sat down and began to write my poem for the day, and when I went back and read it, I realized something about what I had written that I had never done before. The poem was happy. It was full of joy and hope. Gallaudet read us a quote by her father last week in Humanities, saying that you have to be passionate about your subject and vulnerable about that passion. That's what I had done. I had successfully nursed myself back to a good place, a happy place, and Waring had shown me how to do that. I didn't stop then. I still write one every night, not because I need to, but because it's something I really enjoy doing and I feel at ease doing it. New students, I want you to keep this in mind. You begin your Waring career assuming you will leave your mark here, trying to figure out what that mark will be. Maybe you really will be the best soccer player Waring has ever seen. Maybe an amazing actor, thinker, artist, writer, or mathematician. But as you ponder this, you'll gain some perspective on what you want to leave behind, and you will realize that Waring isn't just about leaving your mark. It's also about Waring leaving its mark on you. There is something here for you, and you may have to put in some work to find it, or it may come when you least expect it, but it will come. And when it does, you'll look back on the person you are right now, about to sign your name into this book, and that's the mark you leave, the one everyone leaves. So don't worry about what you leave behind, because you're about to do that. Instead, ask yourself, what does this strange, beautiful place have in store for you? You may not see it now, but I can guarantee you that it is all around you, waiting. Just a little hard to let that go. All right. I came to Waring in 10th grade, and throughout my time here, which has taken place exclusively in my older teenage years, I've always been able to use some form of charm to squeeze my way out of some troublesome situations with faculty members. Whether that was being caught having lunch on the roof of the atelier and responding with, "The clouds look better up here."
Or once walking through the gym soaked and plastered with duckweeds, hoping to dry off by French next period, to have my mission thwarted by a passing Corey, looking disappointed that I just mudded the freshly clean gym floor. The pond was doing no good just sitting there. These quick comments may work with most of the faculty and with most situations, but there's one space where the charm is seen right through. The health office. Because you can't sugarcoat broken bones. My first time going to the health office, I remember Jackie questioning why she had never seen me before, not knowing I was a new student that year. She had thought I was super safe and never needed the constant stop by at the nurses, but she was very wrong. It became a daily visit. I would change the water jug or search for the mac and cheese or popsicles. I even helped pilot a remote-controlled helicopter, leaving it stuck on the roof. But while half of my visits were fun-filled, the other half were, as Colleen calls it, gray hair causing and glass of wine pouring. Walking in with holes in my hands, elbows the size of my knees, concussions, broken fibulas and elbows. These injuries were what got me into the most trouble at Waring. Well, at most schools, I won't be able to squeeze by without a detention or two. But at Waring, my main fear is the shame from Jackie and Colleen. Prior to my most recent injury, Jackie had told me to give up skateboarding and take up yoga. I'd never really entertained the idea, and after telling Jackie that I was going to Boston to skate with some friends after soccer camp, she really tried drilling in the idea that she did not have a good feeling about my trip into the bone-breaking city. Her nurse intuition was very accurate, of course, because 2 hours later, I had a crack in my elbow with nothing but grief and regret, knowing this was exactly what Jackie said I was going to do. I despaired having to see the health faculty with a massive pink eyesore on my right arm and a "I told you so" glaring me down. But while the pain from all my injuries were heavy, the pain of knowing I disappointed people who cared about me hurt more. This is the thing about this spell of a school. Waring forces you to decide what is important to you. Instead of being nervous about running in the halls or speaking out of turn, this school teaches you what it really means to get in trouble. Is with your relationships with people. For when you come to Waring and when people care and see you for who you really are, you don't want to disappoint them.
For those of you that don't know, I've known Carter since before 6th grade, and he has always been that charming. My first convocation, I remember sitting where you all sit now. I remember sitting next to Cordelia and listening to the seniors speaking where I stand now. I still remember Gareth Buell's words today. This school will not be the same school by the time you leave. There will be many new faces, many new things to learn, and most importantly, new things to teach. I sat there astounded by all the seniors' words and thought, wow, I wish I could do that. Too bad I'll be leaving. I was traumatized during my first camping trip. I was thrown to the wolves with all these people I didn't know, barely having done the all-school reading, and having about 2 hours of sleep a night. I had decided that the stress was simply not worth it, and that my first year would be my last. I had many moments like I did at Convocation. Looking at the honor students in my humanities class presenting their projects on Genesis enticed me, being entranced by the costumes and performances in Secret in the Wings. Even in Paris, on the Seine, I took every second in with gratitude. I was thankful I got this experience just before I left this place forever. It wasn't until I found myself piercing Quinn Adams' ear in Sophia and Annabelle Palumbo's bathroom and discussing art history as the needle went through that I actually heard what I was saying and realized that it was all coming together. My hand naturally slipped in the habit of marginalia, the way I saw bodies as measured by my thumb, how I wouldn't shut up about how God's gender is truly not defined in the Bible to anyone who would truly listen to my theories. Waring had hooked me into its colony of bees who were all committed to learning, but more important than learning, committed to caring. Now, I won't pretend that my struggles and apprehension for wearing ended at Convocation. It took my whole freshman and sophomore and even part of my junior year to get myself invested. And it wasn't until Corona, when I was torn from the library listening in on Joshua's humanities class every Tuesday flex, when I wouldn't be able to go to the atelier to be able to finish my art homework, that it would be a whole year until I was allowed into the theater again. There was something missing in my life. I was itching to get back to this place and see my friends' smiles and minds at work. In the 2 days a week on campus, stuck in the physics lab, all curled up in our sleeping bags with the windows wide open, was not good enough for any of us. So in reminiscence of Gareth's words, here are some of my teachings that I want to share with you, new students. For those who are in the position I was, I want to read you a quote from our very own Joshua Fishburne from humanities class just last Tuesday. Quote, "The minute you were born, there were eyes on you and hands waiting to hold you." That's what wearing is. We all have our eyes on you, and I know it's very overwhelming. But remember that our hands are extended to you, waiting to catch you. You will find yourself bewildered by the amount you can get done when you care about others and you yourself are cared for. So let us catch you, watch you, and care for you. We absolutely can't wait to see what you do.
New and returning students and families, new and returning faculty and staff, trustees, alumni, friends, honored guests. First of all, let's hear it again for our 3 student speakers. Been about two years since we've been together like this, some 500 of us, but who knew it would be this marvelous, right? In the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about all of us, new students and new families especially, as I have been attending my newly resumed Cantata Singers chorus rehearsals every Tuesday night in Boston, the first since 2020 and the onset of the pandemic. I've sung with Cantata Singers since 2003, carving out an evening each week, driving into town for rehearsal, enjoying the several exhilarating, if often taxing, concert runs each year, with all of those seasons under the direction of the same long-tenured conductor, David Hoos. But it was during an evening dress rehearsal in March of 2020 for a performance of the ethereal Foray Requiem when David Hoos stopped the rehearsal after receiving a message from off stage and announced to our chorus that our March concert would be canceled due to the rising COVID-19 cases in Boston. As it turned out, we had sung through the Foray Requiem with orchestra for the first and last time. A few days later, during that same March break of 2020, Wearing School, along with most of the world around us, made the decision to go fully online. And at that point, we planned for 2 weeks, and we'll see. Whether you were here at that time or would join us for last year's hybrid school year, or you are among the some 52 students who have joined or rejoined us this year, you know all too well what the next 18 months would bring for school and life as we knew it. As far as my Cantata Singers world, little did we know that night in 2020, that our in-person singing would cease for 18 months, that several singers would move away from the area over that time, and that Maestro David Hoos would never conduct another in-person Cantata Singers concert before his official retirement this past spring. New Wearing students and writing scholars, you might begin to detect a metaphor. Over these past 2 weeks, rehearsals with Cantata Singers has resumed, and some 40 of us adults have returned with masks and vaccination cards ready to sing. We sit distanced in odd configurations. We struggle to hear those across the room through face shields. We have quietly lost, without fitting ceremony, an extraordinary conductor of nearly 40 years, and yet, in a core of singers that remain, and in the energizing new members and interim conductors, we embark upon this season with a purpose both new and old, necessarily reinventing an experience while tapping into our deepest roots as an organization. When during the first rehearsal back with the chorus, we opened our scores to read the poetry upon which this season's music was set, I was intrigued to find the work of George Herbert, poet from centuries ago, which included his two-stanza piece entitled Oak, where Herbert reminds us that storms make the oak grow deeper roots. So with mixed emotions, with touches of smiles and tears, I found myself in this chorus rehearsal, masked among new and old friends, confronted with a poem so beautifully apt for the moment, and this just days after Waring's long-awaited return to camping trip, where we all experience these ranges of emotion and excitement and reflection. Participating in Cantata Singers has been a great personal joy for me. It is both a very separate experience from my busy Waring life and often parallels and deepens my experience here. As one example, the conductor I just spoke of, in his final words to the chorus upon retirement, looked back on all of the years of musicians and composers and audiences and friends and the students he'd worked with, and he theorized on the ways one can approach the enterprise of music making, from the conception of a work to the interpreting and performing of music, and even the listening and appreciating of music. David spoke of the many musicians and organizations who tend to focus on the what, or the who, or the where, or the when behind the music. And then the more sophisticated musicians and organizations who contemplate the how of an experience. The great musicians and organizations, David argued, go well beyond all of this, and they venture into the world of why. Why art? Why music? Why learning? Why sing in an ensemble? Why perform? Whether or not Cantata Singers has always achieved this level of thinking and being, David insisted that it will be our willingness to ask why, that will distinguish us for the many years to come. So new and returning students and families, I cannot think of a more apt charge for us here at Waring as we embark on this new school year. The whats and the whos and the whens and the wheres of Waring, our schedules, the books we read, the names we know and love, the Robins and Antons, the Georges, Jacks, Catherines, Claires, Noahs, and Julians, the syllabi, the rooms and places and old desks and soccer games and debate and robotics tournaments and theatrical productions. These are all essential, exhilarating components of our daily experience at school. The hows, how we learn French immersively without a word of English, how to grow in art by sketching first in black and white, how to complement the natural sciences with robotics, how to make up for our Zoom knowledge gaps in math or expository writing skills, how to start the college search while remaining here in the moment, how to undertake meaningful work in the areas of diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, and anti-racism, how to be a good community member, a colleague, a friend. These, too, are essential parts of our program and ethic. And yet, as I was reminded by that long-tenured conductor of Cantata Singers upon his retirement, the whats and the hows will lack direction and purpose when there is no why. Why school? Why Waring? So what? And no, new and returning families, this is not a segue into a discourse on why school, why Waring. Not only would that be counterproductive, as a single person cannot and should not dictate any one and only answer to such a question, but it also runs contrary to the very purpose of asking why, which I believe necessitates full engagement of a community across all ages and grades and generations. Why Waring is larger than any one of us, and more important than any one answer is the willingness to entertain the question with boundless curiosity. Along these lines, an old friend and current wearing parent recently sent me a September blog entry from New York Times bestselling author and entrepreneur, Seth Godin, who expresses bewilderment at how even the lessons learned during pandemic lockdown, even with those lessons, even after the storms that threatened to uproot us, so many schools are falling back on outdated modes of education with rigid, obsolete curricula and teaching practice. In this blog post, Godin proposes his own take on School Reimagined, and I'll read you just a few of his sample class titles and descriptions. History and Propaganda. What happened and how we talk about it. More why than when. Citizenship. Participating, leading, asking, and answering good questions as a voter, but also a participant in any organization. Statistics. Seeing the world around us clearly and understanding nuance. Realizing that everyone and everything do not fit into a simple box. The scientific method. Understanding what we know and figuring out how to discover the next thing. Learning to do the reading and show your work. Real skills, hard to measure things like honesty, perseverance, empathy, keeping promises, trust, charisma, curiosity, charm, and reading and writing, of course. I love this one. I'll end with this one. Art. Expressing yourself, art or music, I would say. Expressing yourself with passion and a consistency of point of view, not because it's your job, but because you can and because it matters. I hope some of this resonates with us. No matter how new or veteran we are at wearing, there's not much what, when, where, or who in Godin's reimagined school, but there's a good deal of how, and it is all driven by why and what matters most. I'll leave off with a confession to you, which I'm quite certain is not the way one is supposed to end remarks. But I'll confess to you that there was no single point in time when I arrived at some hard and fast answer to the why wearing question, and that my own personal view on this has actually changed and evolved over time. 15 or 20 years ago, as an alumnus and teacher in early career, I would have focused on what I thought wearing was and had been and was supposed to be. I would have cited my favorite books and units or the importance of maintaining what was in my mind so precious about wearing. Now, years later, though, through continued engagement and interaction and discussion with new generations, students, faculty, trustees, friends, I see wearing's purpose and calling, or why, as expanding well beyond the whats and hows of this place. And yes, these things are important, and they're precious. And into a larger purpose and calling. We learn to act for the common good, not only as individuals in the school community, but for a greater good, well beyond this campus, well beyond today. Wearing students, you have been key drivers in this evolution of wearing's why. As I learned through my Cantata Singers experience through the pandemic, there is no more important time than after a storm has set in to ask these essential questions of ourselves. So as we embark upon the rest of this year, through poetry and problem sets, soirees and soccer practice, and the countless interactions we'll have together, masked and unmasked, may we not for a moment take for granted the marvels of what matters most. Thank you.
All right, thanks Tim and Noah and Carter and Sophia. Nothing like following so many great speeches. But marking off a lot of things I would like to have said, this makes it easier. It's almost time to welcome officially our new students to this community. As members of Wearing, we expect a commitment. It's nice to have a good breath of air. We expect a commitment to pursuing our shared mission of learning, community, and common good. We also expect in equal measure an ethical approach to achieving that mission. Signing our Convocation album is a recognition of your place in our community and its history, and is a symbolic pledge to uphold our shared principles of morality, our ethic. These words are authentic to Waring and express who we are at our best and what we wish to teach the next generation. It is our ethic that gives our community its character and sustains our graduates as lifelong learners and leaders committed to the good. I'll take a moment to highlight a few of our ethics key tenets that I am genuinely proud of. At Waring, we believe our community is built on trust. We achieve that trust through accountability and authenticity. Here we are called to take personal responsibility, not only for our actions and how they affect others, but also for our inactions. We respect and support each member's right and obligation to speak up when they believe there has been a breach of trust. We encourage each other and strive to be good mentors. And what I feel most proud of, we shape and maintain our culture, not through being rigid or set in our ways, but by being honest, caring, and courageous. Our ethic is not perfect or should ever be considered complete. There's our hope that it serves to influence, inspire, and empower our community members. Students, you are the future of leadership. You will one day leave Waring with power and your own influence. You will one day be positioned to make decisions that will affect the lives of others. We will count on you as our advocates. When that day comes, I hope that your time at Waring has helped to prepare you to be courageous and ethical. Welcome to Waring. So members of the audience, if you could please hold your applause until the last student has signed. Dahlia. Please sign your name into the Convocation album.
Camille Grant presenting Dahlia Beltramini.
Ari Bloom presenting Aaron Bloom.
Henry Carlson-Lear presenting Julianne Carlson-Lear.
Geneva Kelleher presenting Jocelyn Sirignano.
Dylan Cook presenting Max Cook. Thomas Ireland presenting Noah Estee McDonald.
Kapil Parthanani presenting Leo. Oh my God. Leo Lorber Goodman.
Kate Zabin presenting Annika Harrison. Anna Doran presenting Marley High.
Abigail Dow presenting Sorrel and Dressana.
Hudson Chang presenting Eli LePay.
Sophia Jospin Loyacano presenting Bianca Jospin Loyacano.
Haven Venema presenting Drew Nemeskel. Lucy Schaefer presenting Jack Schaefer.
Neve Golden presenting Isabella Sherbarth. There we go. Levi Schiller presenting Amira Spencer. Juliet Hale presenting Catherine Steinmetz.
Eli Strab presenting Hazel Strab.
Asher Souter presenting Caleb Sylvester.
Tegan Prescott presenting Harrison Tinger.
Jack Fawcett presenting Ryan Carter.
Nicholas Buck presenting Annie Jacobson.
Wilhelmina Rolf Thamer presenting Ella Wanstall.
Pascal Fishburne presenting Molly Wellahan.
Noah Calderaro introducing Sam Wellahan. Lucine Rivette presenting Molly Blander.
Gigi Grabowski presenting Ellie Lorenz.
Una Norton presenting Anna Meir.
Micah Byron Smer presenting Trevor Nemeskel.
Avery Cooper presenting Ray Weiner.
Carol Van Stryve presenting June Bogosh.
Ira Tijani presenting Charlie Carner.
Paolo Calderaro presenting Roman Sherrill.
Colin Volante introducing Max Crafton.
Olive Lyons McClin presenting Hannah Landy.
Sebastian Wells presenting Alp McCoon.
Natalia Ellis presenting Caitlin Miller.
Lola Prendergast presenting Ellie Miller.
Zoe Waller presenting Olympia Orr.
Oliver Bach presenting Naz Ufi.
Ben Simpson presenting Lida Simpson.
Lida Simpson presenting Ben Simpson.
Eli Bear presenting Evan Smith.
Amelia Weiler presenting Vienna Weiler.
Vienna Weiler presenting Amelia Weiler.
Gigi Rashawn presenting Amy Kai. Ani Bagley presenting Hannah Crandall. Sarah Patey presenting Sarah Corey.
Piper Judy presenting Claire Lewis.
Lou Penaloza presenting Willa Schweitzer.
Places I'll remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places had their moments with lovers and friends. I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you. And these memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I loved you more. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I loved you more.